So the PNG Kumos, after winning the Pacific Championships bowl for the third time, will not be coming down to Sydney to play here in the final. This will only be the Pacific Championships Cup final for the men's and the women's, and there'll also be a World Cup qualifier. I think, Spiro, you mentioned this a couple of times over the past 3 weeks that the promotion relegation match in the Pacific Championships had to be scrapped for this year in preparation for the Rugby League World Cup next year. So that's the whole reason why we won't be seeing a promotion relegation match here in Sydney tomorrow, and the Kumals can rest most of the guys for the World Cup and the seasons next year.
I was thinking about this on the way here this morning. What a great game it would have been. Tonga, Matema Tonga up against the PNG Kumals, a bit of a rematch of what we saw in the World Cup only a few years ago. Yeah. It would have been a great experience for PNG to come up against probably a quality team, more of a tier 1 nation in rugby league in Tonga in preparation for the World Cup. But as you mentioned, Nigel, because next year is a World Cup year, there won't be any Pacific Championships. So there'll be a break as such. So we'll have tomorrow, and then we won't have any Pacific Championship tournament until 2027 after the World Cup. So as a result, there is no promotion relegation required, if that makes sense. Yeah. I would have loved to see the Kumals down here. I would have loved to see Tonga play again, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. I guess we do have that World Cup qualifier, that match between the Cook Islands Aitu and the South African Rhinos. Who knows what to expect there? We'll dive into that. But it is a very valid point you raised, Martin. That's just the way that it is in the lead up to the World Cup.
Yeah, and so, like I was trying to say, getting back to the final Ashes test match in England, it's going to be at Leeds. I think you said it. I think you hit the hammer on the nail pretty right there when you say that Australia going over to England. They were trying to prove a point, and they've done that. They've won two test matches already, and the third one, even though it's a dead rubber, I mean, Coach Kevin Walters looks like he wants to make it 3-0.
And the thing for Kevy, his contract as Kangaroos coach is only for this tour. So at the moment, Australia don't have a coach for the 2026 Rugby League World Cup. You'd assume that it would be Kevin Walters, but if they do lose this game overnight, maybe there'll be some questions or some doubts raised in terms of his future in the job. I think he deserves an opportunity to coach the national team at a World Cup. He's got that experience. He took the Broncos to a grand final only a few years ago, coached the Maroons in the State of Origin. But in terms of this series and the lack of competitiveness, I think that it has highlighted an issue. And we know that for 22 years now, there hasn't been an Ashes tour. Australia, the Kangaroos, haven't toured in 22 years. Such a long time. There's clearly a reason that's the case because of the huge difference or gap, if you like, in the quality of standards between the Australian National Rugby League team and the English National Rugby League team. If you go back 30 years, Peter, 40 years, when Ashes tours used to happen all the time, it was competitive. It was a lot more exciting, the games between these sides, but we haven't seen that in this series, which is quite disappointing.
Yeah, Australia always found a way to win. They had that quality and class of player that they could come back from tight positions and still make enough moves to get over the try line and get that try. They've shown that throughout the years. That 22-year gap hasn't. It's actually seen Australia get further ahead in terms of the class and quality, and the English guys should know that. They've actually got a couple of NRL players in their team, AJ Brimson and Herbie Farnworth, and I think one or two guys in the pack. And you'd think that would have changed. George Williams also, he's had some experience. Kai Paul Pierce Paul, I love him. He's a pretty good player. And Callum Watkins has also had some experience. So they've got guys, or Morgan Knowles as well. They've got a lot of guys who've had. I'm giving names. Morgan Smithy, he's a Canberra player. I mean, yeah. So they've got guys who've had experience in the NRL, right? But it's still not enough to get them over the line. Now, last week was close. I get it. And what you said about Kevin Walters, he wants that win so he can rest easy about getting the job for the 2026 World Cup. Here's the thing. Even if they lose this game, right? They won't lose by much if they lose. They're not going to get thrashed, I guarantee you that. But it won't change the whole dynamic. Australia is still ahead of England. And Kevin Walters' position, or at least his ability to get that coach role again, shouldn't be affected by what happens. They've got the series in the bag. There's no problem. This is just a celebration of rugby league in Leeds, as far as I'm concerned. and Australia are going to. That gap is still big.